I remember after my first week of my internship, I went to my weekend job and told my boss, I was like, I want to own this company. I want to get a part of this company.
From 20 to 30 sub-trades per job.
$35,000 a
You
week.
will be licensed 10 years next year.
You've mastered the trade. Now you need to master the business. All right, welcome. Here we are. This is the Build Line podcast, episode 9. We've got great guests today. I'm Jerry. This is Heather. I'll let you introduce them.
Hi, what's up, Jerry? How are you?
Good.
Good. Awesome. Well, first, before I introduce Chris, I would like to just put out there that we've gotten some great feedback on the Build Line, a couple shout outs. If you have input, you have feedback, you have questions, please send it over. Write us a comment, tag, follow, all those good kind of things on social media. It not only helps the bandwidth, but it's also nice for us to kind of know what the people want. We're here for the people.
Yeah, tell us.
Tell us. We want the full feedback. So today I'm really excited. We've got Chris Cormier from TriCorp Group. We're so excited to have you here. Welcome to the Build Line.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Tell us a little bit about your background, because I think today's going to be a fun intro for not only working in commercial construction, going from, I'm going to go ground up, right? Starting at the very beginning, coming from being an entrepreneur, now entering the world of entrepreneur, right? As business, as an owner, taking over as ownership. So really excited for the conversation that we're all going to have of what it means to maybe inherit a business versus starting a business and what those challenges look like. So give us a little bit of your background.
So my background, it's kind of interesting. There are two versions of my life. There was prior to getting into construction, which was when I was 18 years old, and then there's after getting into construction. So prior to construction, I was a drummer. I was a music major briefly, and that was my whole existence. And then I found a new love when I moved to Sac State. I started working at some guy's house doing construction, and I fell in love with working with my hands and doing the work. Went to Sac State, was a music major, not the most viable career path for me, I found. Changed to construction management and just never looked back.
Was that like your parents being like, this is not going to pay the bills? Like,
No.
That was like your own self-discovery?
It was when I realized something that I loved doing, playing drums. When it became something I had to do, it took the fun out of it.
Yeah.
And I learned very quickly that it was not, it was a stress reliever. When it became the source of stress, I didn't want to do it anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've noticed a lot of artists do that. Well, as soon as it becomes something you have to do, they don't want to do it anymore and kind of steer clear. And they can't mix business and art together. It doesn't work. They're either one or the other.
Yep.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing I've witnessed.
So tell us a little bit about your history, where you came out of Sac State, looking for a job. Where'd you land? Tell us how you got here.
Yeah, so being a music major there's no jobs and in college. And so through a family friend, I got a job working at their friend's house, who I'd never met before, a guy named Ken Roblin that ran some company, Roblin Contracting, that I had no idea who they were. Started working at his house. He was already retired, and then he started putting me on job sites. And so I was operating equipment. I was working as a laborer, doing carpentry, drywall, learned all the different trades. Became a CM major at Sac State. All the CM students go and get internships, and heard from another friend at school that a company was hiring, and it was some company named TriCorp. I had never heard of them either. So I sent my resume in, and that was in 2007. Got hired and never left.
Nice.
Wow. It's for people that, didn't go to college. How much importance do you put on that construction management degree in the program at Sac State? What are your thoughts on that now that it's been quite a while?
I think it's still important. As far as we look at it as being important, I look for folks in our hiring that either have gone through some kind of rigorous academic path or have spent time in the trades, because I look for people that can work hard and that can get up against challenges and keep trying and trying and trying until they figure it out. Because I think that was the biggest lesson, the biggest benefit that I think I took away from Sac State was you would have a complicated engineering problem that would take an hour, 2 hours to get through, and you get it wrong. Then you have to do it again and again until you get it right. And being able to have that ability to keep trying until you figure it out is very important.
And were they stressing like, oh, that's big money out there? You know, those construction management degrees, you can go anywhere with those. That was a big thing, right? I mean, that's what I hear.
Yeah. And prior to going into construction management, I figured I'd work my way up through the field side. So I spent a year not going to school, working as an assistant superintendent and carpenter. And after that whole year, all I came out with was a sore back and more calloused hands and no more pay, not much of anything else.
What drove you to then go back to school? What was the catalyst for that versus staying in the field? Because, I mean, there's an opportunity there, right? You get on a union job, you get a prevailing wage job. You could make big money. It could be back to private sector. Why put the money in the investment in school?
I ended up going back in part because my boss at the time said if I dropped out of school, he would fire me.
Oh.
And so that was an incentive.
Yeah.
And,
he knew.
Yeah,
he knew. And then I was just in pain all the time.
Yeah.
You know, found out my back's just not built for that type of work. And I was, figured I would try the academic route. I've always done well in school. And so it worked out.
Do you guys have the same degree, or what is Heather, your degree in? Is that the...
My first one?
Yeah.
I have a bachelor's of arts in public relations and business marketing. And then I went back to school at UC Davis, and I have a certificate in construction management. So I went through UC Davis's CM program. So pretty much the crash course, you can go at night. I did mine at night. You can span it out over a couple years. You can do it as quick as 6 months.
Nice.
It just kind of depends. But the same premise. I don't have as much of the engineering background, but still construction law, contract law, estimating takeoff, all those parts and pieces. Really the stuff that you are exposed to when you're, intern, PE, that kind of stuff. But then just drilling down to essentially make you a better project manager. So.
And that's a bachelor's degree then that you and Steve got.
Yes.
Okay.
Engineering, isn't
science.
it?
Yeah.
Science.
Yeah, when we
Okay.
were there, it was still under civil engineering.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
because you guys had to take more of the civil engineering side. I hear all about the pain from the math classes. And
Yeah,
all the
I think
same.
we just had to take one extra calculus class.
Yeah, I feel like I vicariously, through all the stories, went to Sac State from all these stories I hear from everybody. So,
Yeah.
So, good
Wow.
question for you. Which degree do you feel you use more?
oh man, I think it's funny because I would say on the day-to-day, the public relations side, because so much of this industry is people's emotions, people's feelings, communication. How do you communicate? What way do you prefer to communicate? How do you like to be communicated to? So I use that. It's kind of a good combo. It was not intended to be that way, but I use that a ton, especially within my employees, to my sub-trades, right? And then just being a leader in my company for everybody. So I use that a lot more. Construction law, I think, would be number 2. And in construction accounting. That was probably the one I realized as a business minor, I should have been a business major.
Right.
Because construction accounting was really that's probably the biggest one I use.
Wow.
Makes sense. I believe every bit of that.
Yeah.
So you're doing you hire big project managers and project engineers and everything like that, and so you'll look at their resume and if they got it, that's kind of an in for them. What is the rough price range so people kind of know if they come out of Sac State with this big degree and they put forth all that effort? I mean, is there a salary range you could share with us maybe for somebody first year out?
It's a pretty big range, and it varies a lot depending on the person and what they did during school, because a lot of the graduates historically are interns for a year or two prior, and there's been a shift that I've seen in resumes where instead of working through school continuously for a year or two as an intern at maybe one company or two companies, people jump around, work for 3 companies for a few months at a time.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of the former, where people can stick around for a little while and actually learn.
Me too.
But I think salaries can vary quite a bit, from $75,000 a year to I've heard people making $105,000 a year
Right out of the gate.
right out of the gate.
So roughly as much as a journeyman tradesman without having to go through the knee breaking, back breaking. Okay. Well, that's good.
Based off that, you mentioned jumping around and the internships and multiple internships. What do you think construction companies can do better to retain that talent? I know, obviously, internship-wise, you're trying to get as much exposure to the industry. And do I like dirt work? Do I like electrical? What do I like? Where do I want to land? But let's say you pick the niche, right? You're like, I want to TI is my jam. I like commercial. I want to stay there. What could companies do better to help retain that new talent, especially young individuals that are allured by higher salary or that 10% raise if they jump ship?
I wish I had the perfect answer for that. I honestly don't know. I know that for us and our organization, and it comes from when I was an intern, is being given real responsibility and real work, making you feel like you're a contributing employee instead of some intern that just posts RFIs all the time and doesn't do anything else.
Photocopies,
Yeah.
makes binders.
Yeah, getting coffee or whatever. Like, we don't, our interns, if you get an email from them, you won't know they're an intern because they are an intern, but it's not their job title.
Yeah. So real sense of like ownership of the team, right? More responsibility. I think one of the things that we're always explained, having worked my way up as well, I think the biggest part for me is that realization of like, you might have this little part, like maybe you're just doing the door submittal, right? And it's like, oh, this is so redundant in this door submittal. But once you see it on that bigger picture of how that impacts and having the right information and what that means to the field and it actually getting to the field and then seeing it on site, you don't really get that big picture. How do you expose them to that in a very gradual way that's not this like overwhelm?
I think we just actually overwhelm them with it. We
just throw them in the deep end. You're fine.
You
Figure
have to
it
tell
out.
them, what is a door?
What is a door? What is a door? We start there.
Yeah, and that's why we pull people out of the CM program or they have years of experience, so we don't have to start at that level. But,
yeah.
I think for us, we really try to explain their part in the bigger picture so that they understand it's important. Because one of the comparisons I use is comparing the project team to like the human body, and the project engineers are basically the blood and the nervous system. They carry the messaging. It's all about document control and getting information from project manager to the superintendent to people in the field. And I don't know if it helps or not, but anything I can do to get people to understand that they matter, they're there for a reason.
That's good.
Seems to help.
Yeah, that's good advice. Yeah, everybody needs to matter. We're all part of the same body. Yeah.
I like that. How has that helped you on the mentality shift, having worked for the same company, essentially, right? Since you interned PE, how has your mentality shift been working at TriCorp, but now, being a full-fledged owner, right? How does that work with you having that buy-in of, okay, now I'm gonna bring this person up, and now I'm gonna bring this person up? How has that shifted for you over the years? Because you've been there how long?
I've been there, I think 18 years, I want to say.
Yeah.
And what's kind of interesting, because I have thought of that, I don't think my mindset has really changed all that much. I remember after my first week of my internship, I went to my weekend job and told my boss, I was like, I want to own this company. I want to get a part of this company. And I've just always approached everything from that mindset. And I try to get the employees to approach it from that mindset.
Yeah, ownership of the project or the thing is kind of ties to your heart. And, and that's how the good work and everybody builds as a team, when we all feel like we're part of something, whether it's in the field or in the office or going back to being in that body. Or that's a good way to think about it.
Yeah.
So give us a little bit more on the background of where TriCorp started when you worked there, where you guys are at now. What's the big picture look like? How has it changed? How's it grown? Give us some history there.
Yeah. So when I started, I think, I was an intern, so I don't know for sure, but I think we were doing 10 to 15 million per year. Decent amount of hard bid public works projects
in Sacramento or outside
in
of
Sacramento.
Areas?
Yeah. So we're small. We're pretty local. And that was 2007, and then in 2000, prior to me getting there, I started in 2004. I started in 2007, but they had a good run of success. So the 2008, 2009 downturn, we landed some good projects just prior to. So that floated the organization, and we were in a position that the owners were able to acquire another company. So when everyone was shrinking, we purchased another company and started growing. Realistically grew way too fast, opened up offices all up and down the state. I've always seen TriCorp as being a lot more rigorous and detail oriented than other GCs, and so always working harder, working that extra hour to get stuff done. And the other organization that we acquired was larger, had more people, and the kind of lazy way to do stuff was a lot easier. And I think that culture took over, and so it led to a bunch of different problems on projects, and problems up and down the state. So it's hard to get your hands around. And again, this is my opinion. Project engineer up on my job, seeing what's happening.
Yeah.
So it had a lot of issues. Shrank it back down. Retooled the company to focus on like local projects, not as many projects. So kind of switching to quality over quantity. And that is the same approach that we've had for, say, the last 10, 12 years. And so our goal is to continue to work with good quality developers in the Sacramento region and just continue to grow with our people capacity. So we do a lot of internal training. So I started as an intern. I think the majority of my PMs used to be my interns. And so as they come up and can take on projects, then we take on projects. So we try not to throw them into the deep end too soon, because it burns them out, burns us out, doesn't work out well. But our goal in the future is just continued steady growth that is manageable growth and is growing in the right direction with the right people and the right clients.
You said in 2008 or so it was 10 to 12 million. How many people on staff is that for you? That's really small compared to where you are now.
Yeah, I think, I'm not exactly sure, but I think there were 20 people.
Oh.
And that included a handful of craft workers, because we were doing a little bit of drywall and metal stud framing back then. Mm-hmm. And I believe at the peak, we had 250 employees.
Wow.
And yeah, it was.
That's a lot to manage.
Yeah, it was a lot to manage, and just starting from a small organization where you can walk into the owner's office and just start chatting, to getting an email saying, oh, if you need to talk to them, schedule an appointment through their executive assistant.
Wow.
It was
executive assistant.
Yeah.
So you have one now, is what you're saying?
No, God, no. It was just something that I understand where that came from, because you get so busy, and if you've got 20 active projects, then there needs to be a way to manage your time. But from an employee standpoint, seeing that, it was a bit of a turnoff, because it's like, well, who am I now? With my original dream of I want to own this, and it's like, well, now I'm just employee number whatever.
So during that time, I mean, it's hard, 18 years, stay at the same company. Was there any pressure from family or in your brain itself to go, I'm going to look somewhere else and interview down the road? I mean, that had to have happened.
Oh, yeah. So let's see, 2007 is when I started. In 2010, we had a project up in South Lake Tahoe that was supposed to be a year and a half. It was a state project. Designed by state architects and engineers, and it was just a disaster of a design. And so that 1 year project turned into 3.5 years.
Wow.
And so I was up in a trailer with, in Tahoe, if you don't get your slab down, you can't disturb soil from October to April. Mm-hmm. So I had that whole winter we just didn't have anything to do. My project manager told me about this. It was called CASP, Certified Accessibility Specialist, like ADA compliance inspections. Mm-hmm. So I started getting into that, studied up on it, got my certification for that. So instead of going out to another company, I started my own company doing consulting on weekends, and I'd get up early in the morning and write up inspections, and then go and do inspections Saturdays and Sundays. That kind of
always had this kind of entrepreneur spirit of I'm gonna start something.
Yeah.
Even from the base.
Yeah. Yes, it's just something I've always enjoyed doing. I like creating things.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. Why then take on ownership? You mentioned multiple times, you're like, even from intern, you're like, I'm going to take over, right? I want to do this. So how do you shift? How do you shift from a entrepreneur to an entrepreneur when clearly you've always had an entrepreneur spirit?
Is that a real word? Entrepreneur?
Entrepreneur,
I've
yes.
heard that this morning.
Yes. So entrepreneur is you maybe don't have the ownership piece on it, but you are fulfilling this inside piece of entrepreneurship, right? But you're not the owner within that, right? So I think everybody is owners within our companies are always encouraging our employees to have that entrepreneur. I'm going to think like an owner, even though I'm not the owner.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So how has that shift been for you? Or as you've always just come at it as...
It's just
I'm going to do this.
I've reflected on that quite a bit. I don't know why I've always approached every job I've had like I want to take over the business. Even when I worked at a grocery store in high school, I was trying to figure out like, well, how does a business plan work for this? Like, what are the costs? Like, what's the overhead? What kind of margins are they making? Then I worked at a lake for a summer. I was kind of thinking the same thing. It's just kind of how my brain works. So it didn't really shift. It just came to fruition to where I had the opportunity to own it.
Yeah, one step led to the other. You're not even thinking about it. It just happens. You're just working hard and doing the right thing, and opportunities come up and you move. And that works out. Yeah, that's fantastic.
How did you approach that though? I mean, you said you came up to your boss as the intern. Did he like laugh at you?
No, that wasn't the boss at TriCorp.
Okay.
And he did laugh at me.
Okay. Well, have you like called him up now and been like, hey, by the way, did it?
We send him our Christmas cards, so he knows.
Yeah. A little something in there.
Yeah.
So for people that are listening or maybe have the same dream or aspect of I'm going to take over a company or I want to approach maybe somebody who's phasing out or somebody, who maybe wants to step away from their business, what would be your advice or what would you tell that person if they want to adventure to that?
I would say don't be afraid to put it out on the table. Because I wanted it for a long time, but I didn't say it out loud to the owner until 2016. In a very, very, very fortunate scenario where we were walking through the parking lot after the ribbon cutting for a project, and the executive director of that organization was walking with myself and my boss, and she was talking about her retirement, and she just threw out there, hey, Tony, when are you going to retire and let Chris take over? And, it's like that moment I've been waiting my whole life for. And he turns and he says, you want to do that? And I was like, ever since my first day I started. And so that was the first time that I verbalized it to him.
Did he know? Was he in the background Chris is going to be a good person to step up and take over this? Do you think that was there, or do you know?
I think from time to time, maybe. I mean, either that or that it's just was said to keep me from quitting at one point. But
the perpetual carrot.
Yeah, and I'm fortunate that it ended up being real. But it took from that conversation was in 2016, and then from 2016 until I think it was 2019 that we got serious about it, and then 2020 is when we finally signed a deal. So it's a long process.
Yeah.
It takes a long time to get there.
And you're CEO now. Is there other partners or anything, or is it just your name on it?
I have two other partners as well. So in terms of positions, responsibilities, so I'm the CEO and president, and my primary responsibility is overseeing operations. And then one of my partners is our vice president of preconstruction and estimating, and then the other partner is our CFO.
So, Jerry, if you got approached by one of your employees, or if they're already like, Jerry, you got this successful podcast, you're gonna ride off into the sunset on retirement, right? What would be your reaction? What would be your thoughts on that?
I'd fire them right away.
You're like your competition. You're out. You're out.
I don't know. I mean, that's so far from here. I wouldn't even know how to approach that. I mean, I'd feel like pride that somebody would want to, you know, in the beginning, right? But everything is mine, so it's like an ownership, I don't know. I have no idea what I would do if somebody said that. That's a tough question.
Yeah.
Pass. But like we've all made our company name with our name in it.
I know. That's the worst.
That
bad branding idea. That's my advice. Don't put your last name in it unless you want somebody else driving around town with your name on when you sell it.
When a lot of us start, we're just hoping for the best to make a little bit more than wages, and have freedom. Freedom always comes into play with that. So you don't think about later selling your business to somebody and having to market that. I mean, the things that you learn along the way, starting from just being a regular tradesman to, having a podcast or thinking about selling a business is wild. It's just, who could tell? You can't tell the future of the things.
Your head down. You're like, I'm hustling to start this, to keep it moving, to keep feeding the machine, right?
Sometimes
so you don't think about it that way.
Sometimes a lot of guys start because they can't get a job. There's a lot of people that are good tradesmen that became contractors that shouldn't be, and they did it out of, I can't get a job anymore. Some of them are in their 40s and now they're not marketable as tradesmen. Yeah. You kind of, some big companies won't hire a guy that's, got a little bit of a limp, or he just kind of been around too long. It's a liability. You're looking for these long-term young guys that'll run in these bigger companies. So I see a lot of that. I see a lot of guys that started out of necessity and they just kind of stay small, and they do a good job.
Yeah. I think it leads to this sense of, can you run this? Can you do this? Right? Can you hand it off? Right?
Yeah. And you don't know until the guy gets in there. That's like, you brought up how many project managers and you bring them up and you thought you went from A, B, C, D, and then some people's pressure limit just stops and they can't. They're just, and I don't want to sound like a dickhead, but some of us are just not as smart as others. Simple as that. Like, I don't know what it is. Like, how many times have you gone like, look at that guy over there? He's running this or that. And like, I don't know. I meet people all the time, and I think that's just honest. Like, that's what it is.
I heard somebody else mention this, and I think it was a business coach, and I thought it was great advice. And I think maybe you can relate to this too, Chris, and Jerry, you as well, like, you bring people into company, especially if you're growing, right? Like, TriCorp's been one fastest growing business multiple years over. We've been fastest growing business. People get on the bus when you are a certain revenue and you're doing certain kinds of jobs and you are doing certain kinds of level of work. And if you're upping that and you're increasing that, there comes a point where they're not the right person on the bus anymore. Like, we had a great project manager that worked for us, and she was great and she did a really, really good job, but we grew and the types of jobs were more pressure. And it turned into, she was really, really good to being really stressed out. And it was like, you know what? You were really good when we were X volume, right? Now we've doubled that, and it is too much for you. And you're not a good fit here anymore because you got hired when we were a different company. And that's okay. And I think sometimes people have a hard time with that.
Yeah. That's
You've had to see that. Staying in that same company, going from 10 million to how many tens of millions you're doing now. Yeah. That's something people you probably care about and worked with side by side. You've passed leaps and bounds, and you pass them in the hallway with your executive assistant. If anybody's listening, email me your resume. I'm looking for an executive assistant.
You add that to the payroll. Is that what you've experienced? And your vision for the company and what you guys are bringing on?
Yeah, so we are trying to hedge against that because what I've seen is by doing fewer projects, larger projects, it makes it much more difficult for PEs to make the leap from a PE to a PM, because you don't want your first PM project to be some $35 million infill podium project, because otherwise you're going to need a ton of experience before you're ready for that. So,
and now you're stuck in this role of being a PE for 5, 6, 7 years because you have to get that experience before you can jump. And
let's do a short difference between project engineer and project manager for those that don't know.
The way that we look at it is we're a project manager-led company. So our project managers are overseeing to a certain extent. They're almost on the same level with superintendents, but if something comes up, the project manager is the one that's getting the call to have to figure it out. They're responsible for the project engineer. So our project managers, and we actually have a long, detailed spreadsheet for employee development that tracks all the PE responsibilities, all the superintendent responsibilities, and then the PM responsibilities. So our PMs have to be able to have demonstrated all of it. But on a day-to-day basis, it's making sure the PE is doing what they're supposed to be doing and making sure the project is on schedule, on budget, dealing with client relations, whereas, the project engineers are not necessarily going to be client-facing as much. Mm-hmm. It's our project managers generally are back-checking PE's work. They're having to
training them up.
Yeah.
Showing them what it should be like and how it kind of should, and giving them tasks and things to help the project.
Yes.
Okay. Then we were going into before I cut you off.
I don't know where we're going.
Heather had that question.
I lost it. You're going to have to edit this out. And we're going to need an edit right here.
You were, retaining the project managers and like how to not, to make sure that they continue on that path and not hit the wall of failure. Or
So what we've done to provide those opportunities is we still do small projects. So we have a building services kind of division. It's not really a division, but it's a group of people that they do all of our small projects from, $200 drain clearing jobs up to, $1 million small TIs. And so it gives the opportunity for PEs to dabble in the project management role where they're wholly responsible for a project.
Oh, nice.
Without
That's good.
Completely bearing them or, risking big losses for the company. So it's kind of a little...
Get your feet wet.
Yeah, you might see a little potential in them and give them some, park bathroom or something to run to see if they can handle that and kind of... That's good.
Yeah.
I love
that's
that.
Nice.
That's really...
setting them up for success instead of failure.
That's the goal.
For sure.
That's the goal.
Because you want people to be just like you and be there 18 years and know the ins and outs and love it like you and create that long-term team.
Yeah, but I don't necessarily need to drop them into the fire like the path that kind of my generation I feel like we did. Like that was the people that I came up under, that was how you did it. You got thrown out to the wolves, and if you came back, then you can do it, and if you didn't, then you're not cut out for it.
Yeah, that's a failure. I don't like that idea either. I've done that a couple times, and I'm like, I just set that guy up for a failure. I'm like, why'd I do that? I knew it wasn't going to work out. And then I got to pay somebody to fix that problem, and then it's a whole thing, and he feels bad. Like, there's a little bit of that you could do, but, you got to have a little compassion and teach people in the right way, and not just throw them with the wolves.
Yeah, it's more of the give them enough rope to
introduce
hang
them to the wolves.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I think that's also the shift in construction culture that I think we were just dating ourselves earlier, but I feel like our generation is bringing into the industry a little bit more because we all went to the school of hard knocks. We all got put out on, here, go figure it out. Here's your first job.
But did we think we were being thrown in the wolves? But he knew that it was like we were introduced to the wolves.
No. I got zero.
You think somebody was like, let's throw them in?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because
that's exactly.
I think it's the perspective of the person doing it and then the person giving the order are two different things.
That's true.
Did you know what you didn't know? Yeah. I would say no. I went to the school of hard knocks.
Somebody said, you're going.
Yeah. But I think it's also the time, like you were mentioning, right? Like you came out of school in 2007. I came out of school in 2007. There wasn't time to, here, let me introduce you to the wolves and you're going to be fine. No, it was like, we're running. You're going. It's 2008. Good luck. Like, I think that's the culture that we came up in commercial construction at that time. Because it's a scramble. So at least that's what it was for me. Kind of, you have the same time frame. Do you think that was the same for you?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And what was funny for me is I would have times that, because you don't know what you don't know, where I would be put in a situation not realizing that that situation was a test for me, and I would
Right.
not do well because I didn't, fully understand what I was supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
And then it's because it took me a long time to become a project manager. That's why I started my own business, because I was like, all right, well, if they're not going to make me a project manager, I'll make myself a project manager.
Yeah.
And so I don't know the mindset of my supervisors at that time, but I'm pretty sure they thought I was not going to make it. So it took a long time for me to get there. And so I try to provide an outline, because I got impatient. I know that our younger employees, they get impatient because they'll graduate from college. There'll be a PE on a really good job, which not all jobs are really good. Everything goes smoothly. The PM will transition out, and that PM transitions out. PE will close out the project, more or less by themselves. And I've seen a number of times where they're like, oh man, I'm the PM, I'm running this job, I should have my own PM job. And it's like, the scenario you just went through is not even close to starting up a project and running it and overcoming real issues. And that's why we have that kind of like employee tracking, so we can demonstrate to them with real examples of their work, of how they're doing and where they need to improve. Because that used to drive me nuts, like the guessing game of, am I doing okay? Am I not doing okay? Because then if you go and you say, hey, how am I doing? Then it's like, well, why are you so insecure about your job?
Yeah.
Get back to work,
Yeah.
weirdo.
I like that. What do you, one of the things I wanted to ask you, because I think we're all, again, we're bringing up these younger people. We keep talking about these younger people in the industry. And I think you're alluding to it. What do you think is that unpopular truth about younger individuals in this industry? Is it that? Is it the not knowing and needing that reassurance? What do you think is the hard challenge of these youth that we now
Do you
all
have
employ?
any 25-year-olds or something like that?
Yeah.
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 Okay.
Yeah. We've got quite a few. I mean, I've heard feedback, again, I only know the company that I'm in, but I've heard feedback from others that we have a really young company. Not as young as they were 10 years ago, but I think we try really hard to find people that have kind of that old school mindset of being willing to grind. It doesn't mean they're going to have to grind, but we want them to have that kind of be the default. But for me, and it's just mostly based on my personal experience, and it seems to be working, is just communicating realistic expectations. So that way they're not left in the dark thinking, oh yeah, I nailed it, I'm going to be a PM now. And it's like, well, I can update them on a quarterly basis and say, like, you're good at X, Y, and Z, but the whole other backside of the spreadsheet you haven't even seen before.
And you actually were there not too long ago, so things and memories are fresh in your head. So that's really good for your employees.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't worked with you, but I'm sure they really look up to you because of you having started from the bottom and not too long ago. And I'm sure you have a really good team right now. Respect you and follow you.
It's nice because a lot of them were my interns.
Right.
So it's neat having our project engineer kind of training manual, looking at the date that it was originally created. It was back when I was a project engineer, and I was sick of having to repeat myself because they kept giving me interns. And so I just wrote this whole, this thing up that then evolved into our project engineering kind of training manual down the road.
So what have you changed since the original founders? When they handed you the keys, you go, I'm redlining this and I'm firing him, and the party's over and we're rewriting the whole menu.
Yeah.
I mean, were there any few little things you could give us that you were like, now I'm changing this and I hated it since day one?
Not really. Nothing that sticks out. So the nice thing, and so what you guys have done starting from ground up, from scratch, is so completely different than from what we had to do, because we had to come in and just not screw it up, where you guys had to build everything from nothing. And so the leadership transition was so gradual, because I was training the next generation of project engineers, I don't know, 12, 15 years ago. And so that training didn't really exist at that time. So I didn't have to change anything. I just had to, create it or formalize it. And then working into, kind of middle leadership type positions, I was able to influence decisions and policies at that point.
So slowly behind the scenes, you're making things your own.
Yeah. And so by the time, I remember the first day, I expected it to be some like big dramatic thing. Like first day, I'm like,
my name's on the office,
I'm
big
the
title
CEO.
change.
Yeah. And then it was just like any other day, nothing was different.
Oh, man. I figured they'd present you with one of those big checks or something.
Yeah.
Or like a big key.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Did you get to move offices? Like, did you just get a bigger office? Like, nicer window?
I didn't move my office. I kept it where it
so
was.
Humble.
God,
So
right?
humble.
Shoot.
Well, I have a nice office. I like where it is. I put myself kind of in the middle to where I'm right next to accounting, and any operations folks are in front of me. The admin over here and is estimating right nearby. So I tried to put myself kind of in the middle.
Yeah.
So I can unfortunately hear everything going on.
You're in the know.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got 2 parking spaces.
We have unlimited parking spaces. Yeah.
But add that on best places to work.
That's right.
Yeah, it comes as a perk.
Yeah, in Rockland, there's no shortage.
Yeah, that is true. That is very true. What is your vision overall for where you want to take the company? We're talking about inheriting and I think when you grow something organically, you have this massive vision. You're a dreamer, right? Mm-hmm. You have to create it. You inherited something. How are you going to take this dream and put it in motion to some basically the cart's already on. You're flying down the road. Mm-hmm. How are you going to bring that all together?
That's a good question. I feel like I've been fortunate that I was able to start steering the cart probably 4 years ago. So by the time we took over, the momentum was already there. But for us, it's just keeping doing what we're doing. We've had a really good, successful run. And for us, it's really staying grounded, making sure we don't get too big for our britches and stop paying attention to jobs and disconnect ourselves. But for me, the vision is to just keep gradually growing, not doing anything crazy and blowing up and becoming a $500 million revenue company.
Yeah, overnight.
Yeah, because I think the companies that successfully do that are few and far between. I think more companies have issues when they do that.
Do you guys have, between the 3 owners, do you guys have a leadership team? Are you outlining 1, 2, 5, 10-year goals? What does that look like for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, our leadership team is just the 3 of us, the owners. So what we do is a few times a year, we will go through and look at our projections and our kind of revenue targets. And then we see where we're at from a staffing standpoint, if that feels attainable or not. And then if it is, then we'll roll with it. We're super, super selective about who we work with. So our clients, it has to be just right. It has to be the right place, the right time, and the right project and owner. And so it was very hard in 2024 when interest rates started going up. Multifamily work disappeared. A couple of jobs we were counting on fell through. And that was our first year as full owners. And so we had to scramble and find new clients. We started our building services division, which we didn't have to get rid of anyone during that time, even though our revenue dropped in half. We were able to just pivot, keep everyone working, still maintain profitability. And through that, we got more clients, and now we're on a real good trajectory for the next, I think we're booking 2027.
Nice.
So
And how much revenue do you think you'll do next year?
We're on track to get a little over 100 million, which would be our biggest.
And that's how much growth compared to this year to last 2 years ago?
I think last year we were at about 28 million.
So that's a big jump.
Yeah. But it was really more the 28 was a big dip.
Yeah.
Because we were hovering in the 60 to 70 range.
Okay.
Because our goal is not to have those types of leaps from a 28 to a 100.
Yeah.
But looking at the average over time, if it's more of a 70 to 100, because really it's just an additional project. And so the way that we're able to do that is because some of our engineers are now project managers, and so they're capable of going and running that extra project that bumps up the revenue for the year.
How many projects is 100 million?
It is going to average to about 7.
7. Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah, with some finishing off in the first part of the year and others starting up.
So is it fair to say, you've been there from the expansion to the, let's call it deflation, whatever you want to, right? Like, you've seen the growth and everything in there. It's interesting hearing you say, that's the difference of one job because, this PE is ready to be a PM and, the staffing's there to grow. Is it fair to say that you're looking at the acquiring work from the stance of who do we have, who's going to go do this, and does that make sense for the company? Versus, I think sometimes especially in commercial construction, there's such this catch-up game of low bid, we need to chase that bid, I want to get that job because I don't want so-and-so to get it. It's like, is that a mind shift that TriCorp has always had, or is that something that you guys are bringing as the new leadership in the company of where you guys want to go?
That was actually something that came from the prior ownership, because with the acquisition of that other GC back in 2010, 2011, whenever it was, the mindset was we need to grow, take on every project, we'll figure out the staffing. And we had the benefit of seeing what happened as a result, and it was really, really ugly.
Yeah.
And so we are applying those lessons learned now. And so, yeah, we're extremely mindful about growth, and we just make sure we take really good care of our clients. So we grow with the clients, grow with the people. They get to know, we try to keep, if we have a project manager who has worked with one owner, we're going to, every job we get with that owner, we're going to try to keep the same project manager. You get good working relationships, good rapport, and a lot of trust.
I think that's true. You've described, tell us if you could pick it off the shelf, what's your ideal project and your ideal client?
It depends. I don't know that we have an ideal client is one that, like, at least verbally shows some appreciation for what we do.
Yeah.
Because that's one of the most frustrating things in construction is when you're busting your ass 12-hour days, 6 days a week, and then the client comes in and says, "Why aren't you done?"
Yep. No thank yous.
Yeah.
There's
no
very
thank
few
yous.
thank yous in commercial construction.
Yeah.
We've talked about this.
Yeah. What do you think about commercial versus residential, and would you want to be in our world? I mean, can we debunk some of the things that you guys think about us?
Yeah.
And, what are your thoughts
I like
on that?
this. Yeah.
My thoughts, and I love what you guys are doing with Tankersley, actually running residential like a real construction company, like a business, not just out of a pickup truck. Because I've had family members that have hired people that, they don't show up, they don't have a schedule, and if they do, they don't follow it, and it's just a total mess. But at the same time, those family members are making design changes all the time. They have no idea that design changes cost money. So I personally would not want to work in residential because having to educate every client every time, whereas if you work with people that develop on the commercial side,
it's just processes at that point.
There's a little more
They know.
knowledge.
They know what they're going into.
Yeah. But do you run into having to educate clients all the time?
All the time.
Yeah.
All the
Every
time.
day of the year.
Yeah.
That's Steve's full-time job.
Yeah.
Yes. My favorite client is the client that has already done a remodel, like you're describing, and had a horrible experience, and the guy didn't show. They kind of got an inferior product, didn't quite finish the punch list, and they hated it. That's my favorite client because I don't have to educate them on why we're better. It's very easy to see. We'll do all these other things. Oh, that guy didn't actually show up. You didn't know when your job was going to be done. Like, it's very easy to be the exact polar opposite when you've already had that. It's when they've never remodeled and they've never done any construction. Just first-time home buyers. Haven't even changed a toilet. Those are the hardest, in my opinion.
It's their personal money, so they make decisions based on that and not the facts. And that's interesting to watch.
Yeah.
And then get mad about it later.
Yes. Why is this so much more? I didn't mean to change that.
Yeah. I thought.
Yes.
Right.
We take a lot of your commercial stuff and use it, and I like it. The more people that do that, the more successful they will be. But it's toting the fine line between being super lined out and having that relationship with your client, because I see that sometimes, because these are just people in a home. They could own a bakery or something, and then we come in firing this and that and using all these acronyms and change order words, and they get scared and they don't like it and they get defensive. So I see that it's a fine line to ride there between bringing those into the business and into these relationships.
Oh, yeah.
That's a tough one.
That's very true.
I think a lot of generals break, or a lot of contractors break under the pressure of the grieving homeowner. They can't. They steer away from their, let's say, their teachings. If it's not written down, it doesn't exist. As soon as somebody starts frowning, they forget that rule.
Yeah.
So it's hard. It's hard in this residential world, I think, where the money's tied to emotions.
Yeah.
So I envy you guys. I go, man, I'm gonna get back into it, and then
I don't, because you said it exactly. You said the client that doesn't appreciate it, and I think that's what burned me. Nobody thanked me for building 5 mental health facilities at Folsom Prison.
Yeah.
There was no thank you at the end of that. After 5 years, 5 years of going in and out of an active prison, nobody thanked me. Every day I put my life on the line. No big.
Yep.
Not many
They don't negotiate
of you
for you.
guys thank us either.
Oh,
by the way.
I thank you.
I'm not saying you.
Okay.
I'm saying a lot of people do. And so I'll talk to a lot of subcontractors, and they go, I'm not working for homeowners anymore directly. No more service calls. I want to go in all in generals like you, Jerry. And I go, you're not going to get very many thank yous, attaboys, and you're not going to be able to bullshit people about you didn't see it on the plans.
Yeah.
And they're like, what? And then 6 months later, because these guys, they'll go in and do a homeowner thing, and they'll go, oh, this wasn't included in the bid, even though they screwed up. And then they get to charge them and all this stuff. And then they step into our world and start crying and go, well, Heather's said this or said that. And,
They're so mean.
Or whoever the person is.
How
And
would
it's
you
like,
do the bid docs?
yeah, it's like, dude, you had the set of plans, it just goes on and on and on. So sometimes I think it would be really nice to work with people have the commercial relationship where it's a yes or no, move on, I like you or I don't, and none of this gray area.
Yeah. That was one thing when coming out of doing public works to going into negotiated that I struggled with, because in public works it is black and white. It's not relationship based. It is plan and spec, and it is what it is.
And if it's not on, you're gonna fight, and you're gonna get paid pennies on the dollar. And your job as the PM is to just go fight really, really hard for money.
Yep.
The whole time.
Then you go into negotiated, and the whole approach, like writing an RFI to try to get a change order versus writing an RFI to not get a change order.
Yep. It's such a. Why is that? Why? There's such a mentality shift of that strategic piece, right? Why are we drawn? Why does it have to happen that way? It's so interesting. And then I think there's also this school of, maybe you had this too. I just had this conversation with the superintendent today, actually on site, on a commercial job we have, and he was like, "Hey, I have all these RFIs. I'm gonna send them over to you." He's like, "You got to make them nice." Right? You got to make them nice, right? Because there's a school of RFI writing that I think we all went to, where it's you have to write it. It has to be within a certain way, right? Whereas you get like the cowboy superintendent who's like, I don't know why we have to tie into the irrigation line here, but can you just make that look better? Like, why? What is that? Why is that? Why is that a thing? Yeah. I don't know.
Got me.
I don't know. Why?
We don't write those here.
I know, but like if you would just, if you had to do that, you would say the same. You'd be just like Jimmy. He'd be like, just tell me why I can't do that. Yeah. But I don't want to reference the page, and I don't want to make it pretty. I don't want to have this mentality.
No, that's what I need my executive assistant for.
Right? But why do we have to do it? Because it's not that hard. But we make it hard, right? Back to your hard bid versus not and negotiated. And it's just we make something that's not that hard way more complicated.
We're humans. Humans do that.
Yeah. Yeah, this is true. This is very, very true. Why do you think, or what should change, speaking of hard bid and not, What should change for a GC on being selected for a job and not going with low bid? We get it in residential because we might not. We always say we're probably not the lowest guy. There's always a low guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Commercial, you're going for a negotiated project. There's the price, right? Why should clients, homeowner or residential, what should be the basis for that? Putting the dollars aside.
I think for us, it's service and competency. I've in my experience, I don't think it's super difficult to get a contractor's license and start a business and bid stuff, but to bid it responsibly and actually deliver the project is completely different. I mean, most of our work is negotiated, and most of it is awarded on a qualification basis. Mm-hmm. So I think just having the experience.
Yeah. And beyond just I've done 3 others of your job. Mm-hmm. I'm really good at this, right?
Yeah. I think if you have the good track record, what I always wonder is, because we're fortunate, we have resume that we can use to get more projects to continue to build the resume. It's when you don't, like, how do you get your foot in the door?
It's that first one.
Yeah.
Right? Who's going to take the risk on you?
Right.
Right? I've never built that building, but
yeah,
I could do it.
Yeah.
Right.
And then you end up having to maybe that's how you get in on a low bid opportunity, and then hopefully you can use that to negotiate something. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think building the trust with your clients is huge, because we don't have a huge client list of 30, 40. I think we have 12 to 15 clients that we work with. The occasional one-offs will come in, but we focus on relationship and repeat work and doing a good job. So it makes the negotiation process easier, and openness with pricing. No, not playing games. We see a lot of that where in a competitive qualification, a GC will come in with a budget that, we look at and it's like, that's not a realistic budget. And maybe the client will go with them instead of us, because we try not to play games. Like, this is what we really think it's going to cost in the end. And we'll get feedback that through pre-con, every estimate update, the number went up and it went up and it went up. And they end up going into contract at our budget.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, we see that all the time.
That's every day. Yep. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We get the same thing. Do you think that's the most unethical gray area in the industry right now? Is pricing and just not being transparent?
I think that there are probably worse, but that's one of the most frustrating.
Yes.
When you lose a project over price when it's a budget and it's not the real price yet, mm-hmm. and they end up contracting more than what it would have been. Those are very frustrating ones to lose.
Some of these guys are not bidding competently or responsibly, and that's huge. That when you do that and you feel you have the confidence to do that, it's funny that people don't see that. Mm-hmm. That goes back to what I was saying. I don't think some people just aren't smart enough to do it right. They can't get the math right. They're always guessing their thing. Oh, well, I think. There are a lot of I think stuff. Well, after so many years, there should be no more I think. This is what it is.
Right.
I agree.
Yeah. For us in the commercial side, I think it's a little more deliberate.
Yeah, sure. But what a way to gamble.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
They've been doing it for a while.
They've mastered that.
They've mastered it. Yeah. and we're very upfront with our clients. We tell them that at budget time, keep in mind it's a budget. This is not a bid. And when we go to bid it, our competition, us, we're all reaching out to the same sub pool. So what are the GCs? What's the fee? And who do you want to be stuck working with every day for the next 2 years or 3 years, depending on the job?
I was bidding a commercial job years ago, 12 years ago or so, downtown. There was a lot of framing and the whole deal, the whole package. And I had given my price, and I was pretty confident on it at the time because I was doing a good amount of framing, so I knew where things were and wasn't too hard. And I came in, this is my price, and the guy says, hey, I want to use you on this, but you have to come in at ABC's price over here. I go, well, I can't even do it. It's like way out. He goes, yeah, but look at the plans here. We're going to have all these change orders that we're going to get you back here. on. Look, I know, just trust me. We did this other job together. It'll be fine. But I had to sign at whatever his number was, and I was like, God, that's a shitty way. So then this whole time I'm going to be chasing that and making sure that actually happens. And so that was the straw that broke the camel's back for me. I didn't do it. And good. And I decided not to do any more commercial again.
Yeah.
And that was it. That was a terrible way of doing things. And I was listening to him, and I was in his office, and I just had the weirdest feeling. And we had just done another project that went pretty smooth, but this one was different. And it was going to be, for me, it was long, probably an 8-month job or something like that. And
just be out there getting beat up for 8 months.
I was
spend 6 more trying to catch up on your change orders that didn't come through.
Pass.
Yeah.
So, that sucks.
We just had a project that we passed on because I explained our philosophy to the client of how, our budget is a realistic budget based on what needs to be done. And he had another investor that he had to, that was more the financial backer. And our budget was more than the other budgets. He wanted to work with us, which I appreciate, and I wanted to work with him. It's a really cool project. And then we started going through the budget, and he's like, "Yeah, I know it'll probably end up here, but let's shave it down to this number, and then same with this item, shave it down to there." And I'm looking at all this, I'm like, it sounds like you're just creating a bunch of conflict for 6 months down the road, where you and I are in agreement. But the person that's holding the purse strings, it didn't sit right with me, and so I called them and said, "Yeah, we're gonna pass on this," which was it's hard to do, especially it was going to be a really neat build, but that approach just doesn't sit well with me.
Doesn't feel good, right?
Yeah,
I agree.
That's picking your right client. That goes back to, is this somebody I want to work with?
But hard to do when you're looking for the money. When you're looking to work.
But what are you going to set your team up for? You're going to set your team up to go fight.
If you're in the mind of you're blind of that.
Yeah.
Like we're talking about, we've got a team. We're using words like team and project managers and all this. There's a lot of guys that don't have any of that, and they just need to work. And those are the guys that come in and make deals that their bodies can't cash. They just do it. Got to do it. Got to get in there and get some cash flow going. Whether or not it ends up bad later on, they'll just make another deal to pay for that.
Correct.
They're borrowing from Peter to pay Paul until the next recession, and then they're knocking on your door looking for a job. Because they went out of business.
Right.
But it's an amazing world that we're playing in with all these people that I'm not want to call them shysters, but they got to know that they're doing business on a not so straight path. Morally, it just seems odd.
And then they ruin the reputation of contractors for everybody.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. We dealt with that a couple of years ago with the anchored tiny homes guy. And sold $600 million worth of work and bounced. And then it's just a bad name for all of us. And then we don't need it. We're just trying to do the right thing.
Yeah. And I think you hear more about that in our market, in our world. Residential, you hear about that all the time.
Yeah.
Somebody took this deposit, never showed up, didn't come back. I mean, it's a uphill battle in this side of the...
You hear about in our world, you see it in his when there's a building just sitting there and the Den's glass is falling off. Of the,
it hasn't been touched in 2 years.
The mall out in Elk Grove that sat
forever,
for 10 years and disintegrated.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a unique experience. I think it was 2018. We were building for a developer out of San Diego, and everything was going well. We were making good progress. We were getting paid. And we had one OAC meeting where the owner's rep didn't get on, and it was when we were 32 days on our invoice. So it was like, oh, you're like 2 days late on your payment.
Yeah.
That was going to bring up an ask, and never saw the guy again. And the architect sitting next to me waits till the end of the meeting to be like, oh, you didn't see this article? The CEO of the development company got arrested, and the SEC froze the assets of this entire organization, and this project was just one tiny little piece of like
Oh, wow.
some $300 million Ponzi scheme, and it took years for that thing to get freed up.
Wow.
So,
Holy cow. So what did everybody do? You just pack up the trailer? That's it? We're not getting paid anymore?
yeah,
I mean,
well,
yeah.
so we secured the building, put moisture detection, fire detection, wrapped it up in Tyvek, and just really tried to preserve it,
Yeah.
knowing that it was going to have to get sold.
Yeah.
And it was the sale proceeds that were going to pay us what was due to us.
Yeah.
And it's weird when the federal government gets involved, because you can't file liens, you can't do anything.
Wow.
It was a bizarre, situation, but we luckily, our cash flow was fine. Our subs did, their cash flow was fine. No one on the construction side got hurt from it.
Yeah.
Ended up being okay in the end, but
It's wild.
you gotta vet your
It's
clients.
wild. You do. You got to, no matter what industry, commercial or residential, you always got to know who you're going to work with. So
Yeah.
I think that's true. I think this has been a great conversation. I think it's been great hearing both from the commercial world, residential world, new people coming up in the industry. I think we are way similar than I say we're
really
similar because we've been
feels
in
like
both,
it.
but it's very similar.
Yeah.
And so
It really feels like it.
I think it's been a great conversation. I think it's been awesome to see what you're building, your vision. I think one last takeaway, what would you say to somebody who's starting and inheriting a company? What's the advice you would give them stepping into that new role?
My advice would be on the way there is hang in there. Don't give up. If you want it, be patient and be persistent with it. And then once you have it, just don't screw it up. Stay grounded. Keep your eyes on the prize.
Don't move your office.
Yeah.
I like that.
Stay grounded. Stay humble.
It's awesome. So at the end here, we decide who's the most important person in the room today. I am 0 for 10. I'm not that important, we figured out, even though I feel important. So I need you to check your phone to let me know how many texts and calls you have.
Yeah, let's see.
Because Jerry is always the winner at this game.
I think I might have a good run here.
Ooh,
Oh boy.
same.
I got 4 texts, 4 calls, 3 emails.
We're going texts and messages only. Don't be trying to throw the
Okay.
emails
All
in on
right.
me.
I got a 2 texts, phone call, and a bunch of emails. It's not too bad. So people paid attention when I said I'm going to be
Yeah.
unavailable for 2
You
hours.
sound
One
serious.
call, 13 text messages.
13?
I am the winner today.
Nice.
Jeez, something's wrong.
Exactly. That's always actually what it is. It's who has to leave the room first because something's on fire.
Yeah.
That's actually what this is for. So I think that's awesome. Well, thank you so much, Chris, for coming on and sharing all your insights with us today. Next week, we are doing a Q&A for Jerry and I. So submit your questions. We are going to be talking about all the things that the listeners want to know. Insights of entrepreneurship.
That's next week.
That's next week.
Insights of entrepreneurship. That's heavy. We should schedule more time.
I know. We might have to go over an hour.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be good. Awesome.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me. It's been great
Yeah.
chatting.
Oh, subscribe,
Like,
follow us, send it to your friends, follow us on Instagram, the whole deal.
all of it. Perfect.